What made you lose interest in a person you had a crush on? I was on a date with a girl. We were taking a little walk. The weather was quite cold, so she was wearing a big coat. She took her hands out of her pockets. Her hands were full of tissues, scraps of paper, candy wrappers, and she just dumped it all on the floor. We were a couple of meters away from a bin. I pretty much went straight home. I realized she was mean. About 4 years ago, I moved in next door to a beautiful woman. She was fun and we got along great. We started doing activities together. We hiked. We worked out. We watched movies. Then one day, we went to a fast food drive-thru and she completely berated the workers for no good reason. I was mortified. Then as we were driving away she said, "They're the stupidest people. They never listen." Then I said, "You know they probably spit in your food. Right?" She gave me a thanks a lot look. My crush ended that day. She littered. It was supposed to be a nice walk in the park. We got Subway and she threw the wrapper and napkins in a garden. I picked it up and threw it out myself after she called me weird and walked away. I got a promotion at work. He got butthurt and then stabbed me in the back. He was given a part of the promotion that I was given. Not even half of the responsibilities. When I realized that he was a weasel but also not good at being a weasel, he wasn't anymore. I noticed he was an attention seeker. I heard the same cool stories he told me when I first met him that drew me in again and again and realized he was egotistical. Basically, if you say you've climbed a mountain, he would interrupt to say he's climbed a bigger one that was more dangerous. She wasn't interested in me that way. Lack of interest from the other person is kind of a deal breaker for me. She took a cat she had adopted and allowed it to run away because it had become noisy at night. I knew she allowed him to run away because a day later he came back smelling of the outside and meowing at her door. I took him in, washed him in the bathroom, and she kept sarcastically saying, "That's your cat now." Yay. He is. And I still have him and he's still annoying and loud, but I love him anyway. It's the ugliest sort of person who selfishly adopts a cat while depressed and then tries to rid themselves of this life they took responsibility for. He told me that he wanted me to sleep with other people and tell him about it. And that he stood on the edge of a bridge all night long debating on jumping because he didn't think he could make me happy enough. He blew up at our waitress for absolutely no reason other than his having a bad day. Idiot. In 7th grade. I brought her a slice of cheesecake at lunch for Valentine's Day and she laughed at me in front of her friends and wouldn't even take it. I was socially awkward at the time, but that me up. I found out she couldn't handle any sort of stress or pressure at all and would just give up. Left basically everything she touched half finished. When I was in HS, there was a guy, Charlie, who was handsome and lots of girls had crushes on him. Including me. If you didn't know him well, he seemed like a quiet, unassuming guy. We ended up joining the same extracurricular club. I was on the shy side in HS. So I didn't talk to him directly to him much other than for stuff regarding the club. Well, one day he was working on a club-related project and he was with some of the other guys in the club. They were talking as they worked. I was around the corner from them, working on something else by myself. They didn't know I was there. But I could hear every word they said. Long story short, one of the guys told Charlie that Ella, another member, had a crush on Charlie and wanted to go out with him. She wasn't the most gorgeous girl in school or the most popular. But she was very sweet and well-liked. When Charlie found this out, he scoffed and said, "To think that I'd ever go on a date with someone like her. I'd definitely be dating down. She's nothing." He said it with such a nastiness and disdain that any appeal he had to me shriveled up immediately and I never looked at him the same again. Listen, I get that he may not have been attracted to Ella and didn't want to date her. But there was no reason to be such about it. He could have just laughed it off and changed the subject. But he didn't. Maybe it was to impress his friends in some strange way, or maybe he really was that much of an. I'll never know. Regardless, that spoke to his character and not in a good way. Played those mental games with me, where I had to guess what she means, wants. I much prefer people to be very blunt with me. I saw someone's crush on me leave their body, so I'm going to tell that. It was the end of the 4th grade and this girl was being very playful and chasing me around the past few days. She wrote her number in my yearbook and wrote, "Call me anytime," so that's when I say I lost my virginity. But we had a class party because it was the last day and I had to clean up the bowls of snack food. I didn't want to throw the food away, so I came up with the idea of stuffing my pockets full of the pretzels and Cheez-Its. My friend thought it was genius and did it too, so we celebrated how smart we are. Around this time the girl came around and asked what we were so happy about, and I showed her my pocket full of snacks. She recoiled and said it was weird. She also said something like, "I can't believe I chased you," and walked away. We said probably like 4 words to each other after that, including high school. Beautiful to look at. But boring to know. He asked to borrow my hardback of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. That was my favorite of the series and I happily lended it to him. 6 months later he finally returned it. The dust jacket was torn. The corners were dented and the spine was broken. That book had been in pristine condition and I nearly cried that he took such little care of it. My 6th grade nether regions were turned to dust. You, Trevor. You book ruining barbarian. When I realized I was the only one trying to maintain the friendship. Yes. I had a crush on him and he knew and made me think there was something there between us when there never was. We had a 2-week thing when we were 18 that didn't progress beyond kissing and hanging out listening to music and talking. He would always answer his phone when I called. He didn't have to. He could have ignored me but chose not to, but eventually I got to the point where I was tired of putting effort into a friendship. Any romance prospects at this point had long gone and we were both in relationships, but I still thought we were friends. I said to myself that I wasn't going to call or text him anymore. If he wanted to speak to me then he knew where to find me. That was 18 years ago. He's never bothered. He's seemingly dropped off the face of the earth. No social media. No anything. So even if I wanted to track him down, I wouldn't know where to start. I hope he's okay and happy. Wherever he is. Met him in college. Thought he was funny and cute, so I invited him out for drinks. All he'd talk about were his drunken escapades. Which are fine to have. But have some other interests too. We're still friends and I still kind of like him. But the crush went way down after that. She brought another dude on our date. I got the message loud and clear. Found out he kills his pets when he gets bored. Based on everything else I learned later, I'm guessing he was a sociopath, psychopath. He kept talking about other girls as if I was supposed to compete for his interest and constantly have to prove myself. Too lazy to figure me out for yourself? I'm not good enough for you? Cool. Bye. Your loss. He told me in front of our entire 9th grade classroom. Haha. It's not like anyone's ever going to want to marry you. For some reason this was in geography class and we were talking about child brides and the teacher awkwardly used the 2 of us as an example. Hence the response. I'm engaged now. So not to him. Though. Declaring my interest for him. I simply told to my crush, my best friend at the time. We were 14 to 15, that I had feelings for him. He is straight but received that quite well. Of course saying that the feelings weren't mutual. It really didn't affect the friendship, to be honest. Simply telling him kinda made me get over that. This guy was cute as in everyone had a crush on him. Then I found out he sexually assaulted a girl 3 years younger than us and told everyone she had an STD. No thanks. That's a pretty big red flag. She was getting a master's degree and she mentioned casually one time that she was paying people to write her papers for her. Didn't seem fazed by it at all. I worked my off to get my master's. So hearing someone thinking nothing of just paying people to basically get it for her really lowered my opinion of her. She was on a student who was very clearly mentally handicapped. He was a really hard worker and was quite nice. We were already all 21 and I was honestly very appalled. He told me on the first date, "You have such a witty sense of humor, for a girl." I found out the way he treated the multiple women he was talking to. He would dog on and make fun of them to impress the other, to imply that he wasn't interested and they were the only one he was talking to. Just as things were picking up, she started showing maniacal signs. Crazy controlling with terrible mood swings. Anyone who didn't like me, I lost interest in. Never chase people who don't chase you back. Followed him on Instagram and saw that he was posting racist and sexist stuff. Unfollowed. Blocked. Never talked to him again. I had a crush on a girl for like a month. Asked her for her number, she gave it to me and we went out. Ever hear someone monologue for 2 hours about what an awesome person they are? Yup. Non-stop. She was shocked I didn't call her back.